What's going on, people? So, I've probably mentioned it before that I don't like to pay a lot of money for shoes, right? If it's retail or below, that's it for me. That's good, right? I don't go over that except for maybe with like conversion fees and stuff like that. Sometimes then I just kind of bite the bullet and go with it. But other times, no. And even if it is something that's retail priced, if that retail price happens to be a little higher than the standard, like special edition type shoes or whatever, I'm usually inclined to say no. But this came along right here, the Packer Adidas 4Ds, right? And I saw them and I was like, oh, those are pretty nice, right? So I ventured on over to the web page and then I saw that they were $250. I was like, for an Ultraboost? Like, what's wrong with you people? Like, this makes no sense to me, right? But then, like the next day or something, they were like, oh, hey, you haven't bought anything from us in a while. Here's a 15% off coupon. So then I'm thinking, all right, you know what? Maybe we can make this happen now because it's going to be a little bit cheaper. Not a whole lot. Still expensive for an Ultraboost. But it'll be better. Extra laces and stuff. That's always nice. But yeah, so I figured let's jump on these and see what we can do, right? Assuming the release day goes my way, and obviously it did. It was a little sketchy though. Let's take this out here. It was a little sketchy of a release in some ways because it said they were going to release it like 10 or whatever time. And then, extra noise. And then once that time rolled around, on the web page, like, they still were nowhere to be found for at least for the next few minutes. But, not being one to, go down without a fight or whatever, I did find them eventually on there after a couple refreshes and a search or two, and then got checked out. So now here we are. They ended up costing me, I think it was like $225 is what it brought them down to, and then you add in some shipping or whatever, some tax, whatever the case was. But yeah, so I ended up spending more than I would like to on just a standard Ultraboost, but I guess technically it's not an Ultraboost. But still, more than an Ultra 4D. They were a little bit more than they should have been, but the quality of the materials was enough to kind of make me overlook that. So anyways, now that you got a little bit of a backstory, right, and a reason for me to go into review and tell you about the materials, let's go ahead and do that, shall we? So, let's knock out this review over these right here. Of course, this is the Adidas / Packer Ultra 4D in green and blue and some kind of off-white type color. Whatever. So across the bottom, down there, what you're looking at, right? Pretty much like the standard type of outsole you see on a lot of these 4D models. Not all of them, but a lot of them, right? So this time around, they have colored it in with blue, which I think is a nice touch because sometimes they're pretty plain down there. Moving on up here to this midsole, I do like that they went with this type of color because I think it just plays well with the rest of the shoe, and it's not that standard green, so that's a pretty cool thing too, right? At least in my opinion. How you feel is how you feel, and you can share that if you want to. Now, moving on up to the upper here. Now, one thing I didn't quite say before was that this upper is more of the Ultraboost 2.0 upper, right? So when you look at it, you're going to see similarities to an Ultraboost 2. I didn't bring one over here for the review because I kind of just forgot until right now, and I'm not getting up. So you're just going to have to take my word for it or go back through my reviews because I've definitely done a fair amount of them. Now, looking down here around the toe box, right? So you got some nice suede going on here. There's a slight color change, nothing too crazy. It's not like those made in the UK New Balances or anything, but it's some pretty nice material, so there is that going on. And just above that, making up the rest of the toe box, I don't know if it's just me or what, but this feels like some very nice prime knit material here. So I like that, and it could just be that I'm so used to like the prime blue type things where like there's a little bit of plastic to it, so they kind of just feel like trash a little bit because they are kind of like trash. But this, just take my word for it if you don't have a pair, feels really good. So I do like that, right? Like I was saying, the materials on here kind of make me a little more okay with what I paid for them. And as far as the look goes, you've got a little bit of green and a little bit of blue just kind of intertwined in there, right? Making up those different patterns and stuff. So you can kind of see that from the pictures. And now we're just going to go ahead and move back just a little bit. So over here on the mid side here, you're gonna see the standard cage that you have on the older style of Ultraboost, right? So it's just that plastic cage. Feels pretty thick, pretty durable or whatever. In case anybody's curious, it's not flimsy. And that swoops all the way back to over here where it just says Ultra 4D on the side. So there's that for you, right? Not a lot to say about it. And then behind that, once you get to the further back area, right, you do still see the standard green and blue that you saw in the beginning part or in the front part. It's just the blue is, it's not so out there in your face, right? But moving to the very back, you do have a blue strip back there, and that's going to be in suede. It feels a little different than the suede is around the toe box and all that, but it still feels really good for what it is, right? So again, the materials that they put into these, I'm still not going to say it was worth them asking $250 for it, but it's pretty good. So let's bring things back around to the front so we can finish things off here. Now on the front area here, you have these laces that are pretty much just your standard laces, nothing too crazy about that. It's just going to be that beige off-white sort of vibe going on. And behind that, you can see this blue strip that's kind of just, I don't know, it almost feels like just a light overlay on here, like a little plasticky sort of thing going on. And at the top of this one, you have the P for Packer. At the top of the other one, you have the you have the Adidas logo. So slight difference there. And then once you get to the bottom, you can kind of tell on the side that that blue strip just kind of comes down and then slides across. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. I've never noticed that on any other Ultraboost, so I don't know if that's a standard thing that I've never noticed or if that's just on here. And then as far as these laces go, like I was saying, there was some other laces somewhere around here. Those are just green, nothing fancy about that. Can't see the tips from there, but I'm guessing they're green too. I'll figure that out later because I don't feel like doing it right now. These laces are like a maroon sort of color, or maybe that's burgundy, I'm not quite sure. But either way, there they are. There's a picture for you so you can kind of tell me what color you think those are. And now we're going to dip down onto the inside now that we're done with the outside. So on the inside here, make sure, see if these are the same. They are not. So on the inside of the shoes, they went with the swapped out logos, kind of like what they did on the outside at the top. So there on the inside, you see the P on one, and you see the Adidas on the other. So that's what I'm getting at right there. Much like what they did at the top of the tongue type area, they just did that thing here. So you also have another one of those strips going down through the middle with that burgundy maroon color as far as like where the logo section is, and that beige, that beige off-white type strip. So all in all, it's pretty nice. And then as far as the actual sock liner type stuff goes, where you have the blue area on the inside, that's feeling pretty good, right? Nothing super amazing, like compared to other ones. I feel like it might be on par with them, other Ultraboosts. But I will say that it is going to get a thumbs up from me, because you can go with cheap materials sometimes and it'd be okay, but this time I think they went with something slightly above average, but not enough to draw attention to it. So I think that's a good way to describe that. So now that we've gone over the whole shoe, the visual piece of it, I'll hit you with some personal thoughts, and then we'll go ahead and roll on into the sizing and comfort and stuff. I'm okay with these, right? I'm not okay with that price necessarily, but even though I don't like having paid it, I can kind of see why it was worth it. Still not on board with the $250, but being a little bit over the $180, that, no questions about it. I'm cool with that, especially if you consider the price of what a 4D shoe was not all that long ago. It's not so bad, right? That $250 price point is kind of more in line with like early 2020 prices for 4D shoes. But to me, again, looking past all that, just looking at the visual and everything and how well these colors play together and how the shoe just comes off overall, yeah, like I can't argue with that. I'm pretty content with these being in the collection. I don't know that they'll get a whole lot of wear because I have a large rotation, but I'll feel pretty good about it when I do get around to wearing them. I guess I can say that, right? So overall, yeah, if you're gonna look for these, again, I don't know what resale prices are like because I don't pay attention to stuff like that. But if it's over retail, don't do it. I'll say that much right now and just leave you with that. From there, make your own decision. Do whatever you want. Okay, sizing. I bought these in a 9.5, right? Because that's the size that I buy in Ultraboost, other Adidas shoes, pretty much every shoe. My foot is a 9.5 size, and the majority of things that I buy are true to size fit. This falls in line with that, right? So comparing these to other Ultraboost type shoes, I will say they fit pretty much the same as you might expect. So expect that. Whatever your standard Ultraboost size is, go with that, you'll probably be okay. The one thing that I will make note of is that they do not feel as snug as other ones, so that's something to keep in mind. However, around the toe box area, they aren't the most roomy necessarily because of the way this suede is out here, right? It just doesn't give you as much mobility in that particular area. But overall, I'm still going to say that go with your normal size and you should be good, right? Now, as far as the comfort of this overall goes, on the upper, no complaints, right? It's the standard prime knit. The materials feel really good. So you're going to have a pretty good experience once you figure out which size is for you. Now, past that though, the midsole comfort, that's feeling really good too. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best 4D experience, right? I'd say that's for the Futurecrafts. I'll get into that in a little bit. But still, just going off of how these feel, right out of the box, 4Ds can be a little stiff, right? I mean, you can look at it and tell like it's probably going to take a little breaking in, right? Because of just the nature of how it's made. But if you give it some time, you give it a wear or two, like then it starts to get in there, right? Now that's not to say it's bad out of the box. It's definitely not. It's just not where it could be, and it's not where you should judge it. Personal opinion. Give it some time, come back to it, and then see what you think. Nowadays that the price points are a little better, I'm a little more comfortable with recommending people try out 4D shoes. If this was a while ago, I'd say, oh, no, don't do that. Don't spend all that money for that. That'd be stupid. But now it's not so stupid, at least in my opinion. But anyways, I think that kind of covers things for the most part. So just to wrap that up and put a bow on and all that good stuff, true to size seems to work out fine for me. And they're comfortable out of the box, but they will get better. So just keep that in mind. Now, that's all out of the way. So that's pretty cool, but I do want to give you a quick little comparison or whatever, so that way you can put a visual to what I'm about to say. So this right here, this is an Ultra 4D as well. It's one like the 4.0s and all that stuff. Visually speaking, you can tell where the differences are, right? They're both 4D shoes. They both feel very good in my personal opinion. This one, I'd have to give the edge to overall. The midsoles felt the same, all that stuff felt the same, but the upper here is just made in a way that just felt more comfortable than this. Part of it being the way the stitching is, part of it just being that they chose higher quality materials. So it is what it is. Is it a huge difference? No, it's not. But if I had to choose a winner, which I did, well, I didn't have to, but I did anyway, it'd be this one. It is this one. Moving on though from there. So when I said it's not the most comfortable of all the 4Ds, that's because I'm going to give the nod to these guys right here. The Futurecraft 4Ds that came out a couple months ago, or came out initially like some time ago. For one, they felt better just walking around in them. You can tell that they both have like a slightly different outsole, right? So this one, the Futurecraft just felt, I don't know, just felt more natural to walk in them. Like this felt a little clunky for some reason, by comparison only. This one felt a little clunky compared to this one, to the Futurecrafts. So there's that. And then the upper over here, it just felt better than this one. I can't quite articulate why, but it just did. And that could just be me, right? But overall, this one right here got the nod. And because it was out and I figured why not bring this one on over, this one, midsole wise, felt a little bit better, right, than these. This is the Run 4D Run 1.0. So the thing that sucks about these kind of is that they could have been overall better than these or even better than those zebra colored things, but the upper itself kind of holds them back because just the way that it is, it's a little restrictive or whatever, right? So it makes sense for like a running shoe, but if you're going to be walking around for casual wear, you might want something different. Also, this little layer here, all that crap, it just kind of doesn't really do well for, moving your toes around and all that stuff. They feel trapped a little bit. But to some extent, you kind of want something like that in a way for a running shoe, right? But overall, that one, I don't know, I don't want to put it at the bottom of the list, but technically I kind of have to just because the way the upper is. It does get some good points for the midsole though, so they have that going for them. They're also a little more broken in though, so that could be a factor. But anyways, getting back to this, yeah man, or woman, whoever's watching this, it's pretty alright, so you should check them out. Well, I guess you did just check them out by watching this video, didn't you? Anyway, so I think we're good. Have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm going to move on to review number 3, right? Later, people.